Meet Yukio Yamaji, a 16 years old who he beat his mother to death with a baseball bat. Because of his young age, he was released from juvenile detention after only 3 years. The courts would soon realize this was a serious error in judgment. Yukio Yamaji, born on August 21, 1983, was a Japanese serial killer. He murdered his own mother in 2000, was imprisoned, and then paroled in 2003. In 2005, 2 years after his release, he raped and then murdered a 27-year-old woman and her 19-year-old sister, for which he was sentenced to death. He was executed in 2009. Yamaji was born into a financially struggling family where every day was a challenge. His father, a hardworking man, faced health issues that culminated in his passing from cirrhosis in January 1995, leaving a profound impact on the family. This loss not only brought emotional turmoil, but also intensified the financial strain they were already under. After completing junior high school, Yamaji found himself at a crossroads. Faced with the realities of his family's situation, he made the difficult decision to drop out. He began working at a local newspaper store where he spent long hours sorting and selling papers. This job not only provided a modest income, but also sparked his interest in the world of journalism and storytelling. Despite the hardships, Yamaji remained determined to support his family while dreaming of a brighter future. Yukio Yamaji was just 16 years old when he beat his mother to death with an aluminum baseball bat in the apartment they shared in Yamaguchi, Japan. He turned himself into the police and was transferred to the family court. When asked why he killed his mother, he simply stated, "She did not tell me what she would use her borrowed money for, and she complained about my father." Given the challenges in Yamaji's life, particularly the loss of his father and the ongoing financial struggles faced by his family, the court concluded that there was potential for his rehabilitation. Taking these circumstances into account, the judge decided to sentence him to a juvenile detention school in Okayama, believing that a structured environment could foster positive change. At the detention school, Yamaji was introduced to various vocational programs designed to equip him with practical skills. He dedicated himself to his studies, ultimately earning multiple qualifications, including certifications in welding and hazardous materials engineering. These skills not only provided him with a sense of accomplishment, but also opened doors for future employment opportunities. In addition to his vocational training, Yamaji underwent a series of psychological assessments. These evaluations revealed that he had a developmental disorder, which significantly impacted his ability to form and maintain lasting relationships with peers. Understanding this aspect of his condition became crucial, as it helped the staff tailor their support to address his unique challenges. They worked with him on social skills and emotional intelligence, aiming to help him navigate interpersonal dynamics more effectively. Throughout his time at the detention school, Yamaji began to reflect on his past and the factors that had led him there. He slowly started to envision a different future for himself, one where he could break the cycle of hardship and contribute positively to society. The juvenile law in Japan stipulates that juveniles aged 16 or older who commit crimes resulting in death must be sent back to the prosecutor's office for further legal action. However, this provision was only reinforced in April 2001, which was 6 months after Yamaji was admitted to the juvenile detention school. As a consequence, he served just 3 years of his sentence before being released back into society, where he was reportedly a changed man. Shortly before his release, in a moment of vulnerability, he conveyed his remorse to his lawyer Shingo Uchiyama for the tragic act of killing his mother, stating, "It could not be helped." Following his release, Yamaji made a visit to his grandmother, who had been a source of support during his time in detention. She suggested that he visit his mother's grave to honor her memory and find closure. However, his chilling response, "I won't go where my mother is," indicated a deep-seated conflict within him. This refusal to confront his past suggested that he had not fully come to terms with the gravity of his actions. Upon his release, Yamaji was placed on probation and housed in a correction and protection facility in Yamaguchi Prefecture, where he was monitored as he attempted to reintegrate into society. The facility provided him with counseling and support, aiming to help him adapt to life outside detention. Despite these efforts, concerns lingered about his mental state and ability to cope with the challenges ahead. Just 3 months after his coming-of-age ceremony, a significant milestone in Japanese culture, Yamaji vanished without a trace. His disappearance raised alarms among the authorities and those who had been involved in his rehabilitation. They feared that they had made a grave error in judgment by allowing him back into the community so soon after his release. In the aftermath, the court and the juvenile justice system began to reevaluate their processes and the decisions made in Yamaji's case. They grappled with the realization that they may have underestimated the complexity of his psychological issues and the potential risks associated with his reintegration. As the investigation into his whereabouts unfolded, it became clear that the implications of his release could be far-reaching, prompting a widespread sense of urgency and concern throughout the community. On November 17, 2005, a devastating fire erupted in an apartment building located in western Osaka Prefecture. After firefighters bravely battled the flames and managed to extinguish the blaze, they made a grim discovery: the bodies of two sisters, 27-year-old Asuka Uehara and her 19-year-old sister, Chihiro. Both women had been brutally raped and then stabbed multiple times in the chest and face with a butcher knife, leaving the community in shock and mourning. As investigators started piecing together the tragic events that led to the fire, suspicion quickly fell on Yamaji, who lived in the same apartment complex. His proximity to the victims raised red flags for law enforcement, prompting them to bring him in for questioning. When confronted, Yamaji confessed to the horrific crimes with unsettling ease. "I can't forget the feelings I felt when I killed my mother, and I wanted to see blood," he chillingly stated, revealing a disturbing mindset that hinted at deep-seated psychological issues. He mentioned that he had discarded the murder weapon at a shrine several hundred meters away, further complicating the investigation. Following his arrest, Yamaji faced serious charges for the murders of the Uehara sisters. The prosecution's case presented a harrowing narrative, claiming that he committed these brutal acts purely for the thrill and pleasure of inflicting violence. They painted a portrait of a man driven by dark impulses, suggesting that his past experiences, including the trauma of his mother's death, had twisted his psyche. In contrast, Yamaji's defense team sought to argue that he was unable to differentiate between right and wrong at the time of the murders. They raised significant concerns about his mental competency to stand trial, suggesting that his troubled upbringing had severely impacted his mental health. To better understand his psychological state, the court ordered a comprehensive psychiatric evaluation, which included a series of tests aimed at uncovering the depths of his character and the influences that shaped him. During the opening statements of Yamaji's first court hearing, the prosecutors detailed his life following his release from juvenile detention. They revealed that he had been living a transient lifestyle, moving from place to place and engaging in petty theft, particularly targeting pachinko parlors to fund his needs. Notably, he had moved into the same apartment building as the Uehara sisters just days before the murders on November 11th. Prosecutors contended that Yamaji intended to live off the money he stole from the sisters while hiding from the police, highlighting a calculated element to his actions that added to the gravity of the situation. As the case unfolded in the courtroom, it became increasingly evident that the tragic events were not isolated incidents, but rather part of a disturbing pattern in Yamaji's life. This raised complex questions about accountability, mental health, and the potential consequences of violence. The community, still reeling from the brutal loss of the two sisters, grappled with the implications of Yamaji's actions and the broader societal issues that contributed to such tragic outcomes. The courtroom became a battleground for conflicting narratives, as both sides sought to illuminate the truth behind the horrific events that had shattered lives and left an indelible mark on the community. Yamaji's defense team presented compelling evidence to the court, asserting that he had been diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, a condition on the autism spectrum that can affect social interactions and emotional processing. They argued that this diagnosis rendered him unfit to stand trial, suggesting that his mental health challenges significantly impaired his ability to understand the consequences of his actions. Despite these claims, the judge ultimately accepted alternative testimony from mental health professionals, which indicated that Yamaji was mentally competent and should face trial for the murders of the Uehara sisters. In May 2006, Yamaji pleaded guilty in the Osaka District Court to the charges against him, marking a pivotal moment in the proceedings. With his guilty plea established, the focus shifted to the sentencing phase, where the judge had the daunting task of determining an appropriate punishment for such heinous crimes. Yamaji, seemingly resigned to his fate, speculated on the outcome, stating, "Obviously, I will be sentenced to death. I am not afraid of death." His defense counsel highlighted his state of mind, noting that he exhibited a profound lack of desire to live and that his feelings did not extend to the lives of others. They expressed concern that it would likely be impossible for him to genuinely repent for his actions, raising questions about his emotional capacity and moral responsibility. Ultimately, the judge delivered a decisive sentence, condemning Yamaji to death for his crimes. "The defendant is demonically possessed with killing people," he declared, a statement that underscored the severity of Yamaji's actions. The judge emphasized the unimaginable fear and pain experienced by the victims in their final moments, asserting that the brutality of the murders warranted capital punishment as the only fitting response. He noted that one significant factor in his decision was Yamaji's apparent failure to reflect on his crime. The lack of remorse was a critical aspect of the judge's rationale. He suggested that had Yamaji shown genuine sorrow for what he had done, it might have led to a more lenient sentence, indicating that moral reflection could influence judicial outcomes. In 2009, at the age of just 25, Yamaji was executed by hanging, alongside two other convicted murderers. The execution was carried out under tight security, reflecting the seriousness with which the state viewed his crimes. This event not only marked the end of Yamaji's life, but also underscored the gravity of his actions and the legal system's response to such horrific acts. The community, still grappling with the tragic loss of the Uehara sisters, was left to reflect on the broader implications of violence, mental health, and justice. Yamaji's case sparked discussions about the adequacy of mental health assessments in the judicial system, the complexities of criminal responsibility, and the moral dilemmas surrounding capital punishment, leaving a lasting impact on public consciousness. Please don't forget to like and share this video and also subscribe to the channel.